Episode 41 of the podcast. In the first part, we're going to talk about conferences and CEUs and seminars. And in the second part, we're going to talk about what we need to do before we even get a dog into the shop, how we can start safety before they even walk through the door. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Neumeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, certified behavior consultant for canines, certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is where grooming and training meet. I think it's really important for professionals to have continuing ed and to maintain certifications that they have. I think that's good for our industry. More than just the voluntary kind of certifications that we all take, right? And the classes and the courses that we take. I think it's important to have stuff that's somehow been approved by another organization. I think that's good. So, like I said, the grooming conferences are for everybody. A lot of pet owners walking around at a grooming conference, looking at the trade show and watching their groomer compete, which is, super awesome. So if you know a groomer who's going to compete, you should probably be there anyway, just to cheer them on, So that's the big news. Now, hopefully you guys are enjoying the podcast, and hopefully you come to one of these classes. But I also want to put it out there. I am looking into trying to do more seminars. I would like to do more seminars. I would like to do a conference for trainers and be able to speak to trainers. I think that it's really important for trainers to be around this as well as for groomers to be around training. So anytime I can overlap those two, I'm going to try it. So anyway, I am super excited, and this podcast really helped open the door for that. So I really appreciate all of you listeners. Hey everyone, I have some big news, or at least I think it's big news. So I am going to be speaking at 2 conferences this fall. They're both grooming conferences. It's the New England Grooming Show, which is, you can find that newenglandgrooms.com, and Groom Expo in Hershey, and that's groomexpo.com. So I'm going to be speaking at both of those, which is pretty exciting. And let me read the course description for you. So, behavior change strategies for the grooming table. In this seminar, Chrissy will cover how to help dogs learn to behave for the grooming process. How does understanding behavior help us? How can we prevent one behavior and build another? How much of this is done during grooming? All of this will be covered in this information-packed seminar. Behavior change strategies for the grooming table has been approved by the CCPDT for 1 CEU for trainers and 0 for behavior consultants. So, what does that mean? I know it's a grooming seminar, it's a grooming conference, and I'm trying to make sure that I can kind of get some incentive to get trainers there. So, trainers, what is interesting about going to a groom expo or to a grooming conference? Well, I'll tell you, I've learned so much just walking around the trade show at grooming conferences. You'd be surprised how many of the vendors have groomers doing demos. I think if you're a trainer, it's a really great place for you to learn about the grooming industry and what kind of things we're looking for, what kind of products, what kind of tools we're using. And also, you get to watch the grooming competitions, which is a fantastic place for trainers to observe how grooms are done, how dogs are handled. It's a really interesting place to experience grooming that's not in the shop setting, but there are lots of classes. There are lots and lots of classes, especially Groom Expo. So let me talk about each of those conferences separately. So Groom Expo is in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's September 12th through 15th. My class is on Saturday, and I believe it's at 11. I can double check that, but it's listed on their website. The Groom Expo in Hershey is one of the largest grooming conferences. So there are lots and lots of educational opportunities, a lot of fantastic speakers, and it's a little intimidating. I'm a little nervous. I'm excited, but I'm a little nervous. But it's an awesome show. Now, the other one, the one I'm more familiar with, is the New England Grooming Show, and that's in Sturbridge, Mass. And that one is on October 10th through 13th. And I know my class is Saturday at 2. So the New England Grooming Show is a much smaller show, which in some ways is really awesome because if you sit and talk to a vendor, you can talk to them for quite a while. I've I've learned so much just hanging out and chatting with, the people at Evolution Shears or Dave at Best Shot. So there are some different learning opportunities at a smaller show, and there'll still be plenty of classes. But I'm doing the same class at both of those shows, and my hope is to get more groomers thinking about training and not necessarily just thinking about how to get the job done on a dog who's misbehaving. Because I think that that's where most of us have kind of gone down that path. Like there's a whole lot of information about how to groom dogs who are difficult. And then there's a good amount of information too about how to have compassion for the dogs who are difficult and why they're difficult. But I want to kind of bridge the gap and also think about, well, how do we teach them to be good? So my class is a little bit unique. Hopefully it reflects what other people are saying in their point of view also. But to have a training background added to the grooming background, I think is really important. So trainers, I would love for you to come to a grooming conference. And I know that a lot of places have groomers and trainers on staff. So groomers, if you have a training friend or someone who works there, let me give you some of the stats. There's, if you want to go to just a single class, like a la carte class, not like pay for classes for an entire day or whatever, at Hershey, that 1 hour class I'm doing is $59. That's not bad, right? At the New England show, if you wanted just the one class, just picking a la carte classes, it's $45. Not bad, not bad. And the cost to get into a trade show for each of these conferences is $10 for the day. So if you want to just go to the trade show, wander around, see who the vendors are, what kind of demos are happening, and watch grooming contests, you don't need to register for that. That's something that is just so easy to do. Trainers, get yourself in there and take a look, right? Think about it as exploring a dog sport. It's just a whole lot of fun. And the creative grooming contests are pretty awesome too. If you haven't been exposed to that, those are awesome. But I'm really excited because I think that I've been trying to lead the charge for more training education for groomers and more grooming education for trainers. So hopefully I get to meet some of you in person. And if a trainer shows up and feels a little bit left out or whatever, don't worry. I got you. We're going to have fun. But this is my really exciting news. I think it's pretty epic to have some training CEUs at a grooming conference. And so I don't know if that's really been done before. This might be a first. I'm not sure. Because generally, I'm not seeing anything where I can work on my certification, my training certifications, other than training seminars. Right? So, because it's something that's been on my radar. I've been collecting CEUs for over 10 years, trying to maintain my certifications. Now, in the grooming industry, we don't have a whole lot of certifications that require CEUs. I would really like it if they... If you're enjoying my podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. What do we need to do before a dog even gets into the grooming shop? What do we need to prepare for? So there are a couple of things, and I think that it's really important to have a safety policy. I've mentioned it before, but it's been a while, so let's get into that again. The way I describe it to customers varies a little bit because I'm a house call groomer and I'm chatting with my customers, but I also have it printed up. But if at any time your dog gets nervous, anxious, scared, aggressive, or even overly silly, we slow down and help your pet to be calm. Because it's really important to us that the pets in our care are safe and stress-free. We are using sharp tools and we need to prevent injuries. We will work with your pet to help them feel comfortable and to build a great experience for successful grooming for your pet's lifetime. Your dog may not be finished or groomed to perfection today, and we'll charge for our time spent helping your pet. So what does that mean? It means that we're explaining to customers before anything happens that this is how we proceed, and just make it plain as day. This is to prevent accidents, right? This is to prevent injuries and accidents. This is about teaching your dog that everything is safe, everything's fine, because it's a lifetime process. they're going to be getting groomed their whole life. It's not like it's a puppy thing that they're going to get over. They're going to need to be groomed. They're going to need medications. They're going to need vet visits. They're going to need home care, right? So if we provide a safety policy, the thing that it does for us as groomers is that now we're able to follow behavior plans. Because if you are still locked into the idea that you absolutely have to get this grooming done, you have to get it completed, you have to get it finished, or your customers' expectations aren't being met, or you're not going to get paid, or you're going to have a bad reputation, or whatever things are linked in your mind to, I've got to get this finished and it has to look great. When you can let go of that, that's when you can say, this dog is getting nervous. I'm going to spend a little extra time calming him down. Even if it means it doesn't leave me with enough time to make him beautiful. That's okay, because if we're talking to our customers in the beginning about this safety policy and how their lifelong learning is more important. Now, when I describe this safety policy to my customers, they often have some questions. And I'm sure you guys are thinking of some questions too. Like, so what does that mean? He doesn't get finished? What if his nails really need to be done? That's super important right now. Okay, the way you address that is, I'm going to help your dog be better to be able to handle it. This is a long strategy. This is going to be the way that we help him to feel comfortable with it. So something that might not get completed today could get completed as early as next week if we're all working on something. Because we also need to remind our owners, pets come with some responsibilities, right? Our owners need to be thinking about, I want to keep my dog healthy and clean. I should probably teach him how to be touched all over. It's okay to land that in your customer's lap. That's all right. Be gentle about it and kind, unless they're giving you a really hard time. But you knew you're going to need to have your pet stay clean and healthy, being touched all over, being touched and repositioned and handled by people should be part of the expectation set. So if we're explaining to people, this dog needs more help with that, we're not refusing to do the job. We're not telling them I won't do it. I'm not going to, be able to get the nails done ever, right? We need to make sure that they realize I'm going to do what's best for your dog and get results today, but maybe not perfect groom, but progress behaviorally. And I think that for many of my customers, that's when they kind of have their aha moment, like, oh, okay. Because it's not about how well did he do just during this grooming. I want you to think about how we're building to be more confident for the next grooming and the next one after that and the next one after that. Because if we have some plans in place and we're thinking about what the dog is going through and we're thinking about how we can do behavior change on the grooming table and how we can handle different problems as they arise, then we can also have a clear path for the 15 years that this animal is going to be getting groomed. And not all dogs are going to live to be 15, and certainly some are going to be living longer. If we think about 15 years as sort of the baseline, for a lot of customers, that's when it hits them. Oh, gosh, if I get him groomed once a month for 15 years, or once every 2 months for 15 years, right? That's a long time, right? We're talking over 150 groomings if it's once a month for 15 years. Holy moly, right? That's a long time, right? So if we spend the time now teaching them to be comfortable for it, it's an investment in their dog versus a quick fix, get the nails done today or get around the eyes done perfect. So having a safety policy and thinking about it ahead of time and explaining it to your customers and getting them on board with this new way of thinking about it, reminding them that it's not like we have a box of Cocker Spaniel trim that we can pass over the counter. Like not every Cocker Spaniel trim is going to be exactly the same. Not every time amount for a Cocker Spaniel trim is going to be exactly the same. In fact, if you could do that, then that would be really odd. Right? Like every dog's a little different. And every coat's a little different. You know, we've got the really, really thick Cocker Spaniels. We've got the really, really greasy Cocker Spaniels. We've got those really thin-haired Cocker Spaniels, right? Even just amongst one breed, you know. So we need to get our customers out of this idea that they're purchasing an item and remind them that they are paying for a service and they are paying for an expert to perform that service. And in our expert opinion, we need to teach dogs to be good for it so that they are good for it throughout their lifetime. One of the things I hear pretty often is I work with a lot of dogs that have trouble for grooming. And that's awesome. It means you've got the patience for it and the compassion for it. But I really want to hear people start talking about how I work with a lot of dogs that used to be really bad for grooming. Because that's what our customers want. Our customers want safety. Right? If we can tell them working on this way means you might not get some perfect trims in the very beginning. You might still, but, you know, it might cost more because we're putting in more work. A dog that is misbehaving for grooming or is having trouble with grooming or is stressed out or overly wiggly or any of those things is more work. Like, we know it's more work, but they don't understand that. So we need to tell them, right? You're out washing your car and your car is moving in the driveway and trying to run over your foot. It's more work, right? So, you know, it's not like we're working on an inanimate object. These aren't fluffy little stuffed animals that we put on our table and can do beautiful trims on and not worry about hurting them. And a lot of owners only think about the danger of if their dog would bite. And they're all convinced that their dog would never bite someone, so therefore everything is safe. Think about that for a minute. Because I've had a number of customers, honest to God, think that that was true. Oh, I know he would never bite anybody. So, you know, like they just think that we're adding some random service charge because their dog's wiggly. They don't understand that until we take some time to explain it. They don't understand that what we're talking about is I need to be able to have him hold still so that I can put a sharp object next to his eye and trim out the hair right there. I've had a couple of customers over the years that came to me because their dog had been injured someplace else. And they were convinced, oh, even the vet said that it was probably something sharp. I'm like, of course it was something sharp. He was at a grooming shop. I mean, they're like, but aren't you guys using safety equipment? I'm like, safety equipment doesn't cut hair. Anything that cuts hair is sharp. Right? And honestly, owners don't know that. And it's not because they're dumb. They're smart people, but this is not what they do for a living. You know, we have to remember that too. If it seems like an obvious thing to us, it doesn't mean it's obvious to everybody else. I'm sure my mechanic would think that things that I've thought were confusing were very obvious to him, right? I'm sure my mechanic would be like, really? You haven't changed the air filter in how long? You know, things that they're like, oh my God, is this lady crazy? Things that are obvious aren't obvious to everybody. So if we tell people, I'm going to put sharp objects next to your dog's face because it is literally the job you're asking me to do, that you're paying me to do, that you contacted me to have me do. So we need to teach your dog to be comfortable with it. And we need to teach them to be calm. And we need to teach them to be cooperative. And teach them, not just force it and get it done. Because I've known plenty of dogs who continued their entire life hating grooming. That it was a fight and a struggle every single time for their entire life. And I look at that now, and some of those dogs I took over as their groomer late in their life, and it was before I learned a lot about training. And I just didn't know any better, and I continued along with the way I was taught and the way they had been taught, right? Now I know better, and I think, oh man, if I could go back, because there's no reason for that. This is something that's going to get done all the time, and we need to spend some time helping them be good for it and preparing for it. So having a safety policy is super important, because where training falls apart in the grooming room is when a groomer says, oh, but I had to get it done. You know, it was going great, but I mean, I can't let him go home damp, or I can't let him go home with like that, or I can't let him go home. Like, look at his feet look kind of choppy, you know? I need you to let go of that idea because the brain work is super important. And you are prepping that dog for beautiful, perfect trims later and for a lifetime of stress-free grooming. And it can happen. Can happen. Generally, about the third time I groom a dog, we see something like pretty normal. Even if they were totally over the top before, during each grooming session, I see improvement. And part of that's because I've let go of the idea that it needs to be perfect. Because with a behavior case, we're not working on perfect. We're working on the behavior. And if we have our customers ready and understanding that, you might think that you're going to lose people, but in my experience, and it could be regional, I'm in New England, I'm in southern New Hampshire, positive reinforcement training is really quite popular here. I mean, certainly there's all methods around here, but for me, I actually find people finding me specifically because that's what I do. They're like, I just don't want him traumatized. I know he's got an issue with it, and I just want to teach him to be good for it. I don't want him to be afraid. And that's really our job. Like, just do a haircut. Make him pretty, right? It doesn't need to be perfect if he can't handle it and if he's struggling. So, some thoughts this week about what we need to do before dogs even walk into the shop. This is a mindset that we need to have. Like, okay, I need to be able to get this done. And make sure that this dog isn't struggling to handle that, right? Because that's part of the job. If they're struggling, you're not getting it done, because getting it done is a beautiful haircut on a dog who's calm, comfortable, and cooperative, not on a dog who's thrashing around like a trout on a line, muzzled and tethered and tied up every which way with 4 people yelling, no, 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 right? And we joke about it, but I think we've all seen it, right? That's not getting it done. That's chaos. That's undoing any trust that we might have built on. So having a safety policy ensures that we are also prepped to have everything go well. And that's really important for our owners. The weekly action step this week is to recognize that behavior is an important part of safety and that we can change behavior, and we should be changing behavior. We shouldn't just be pushing through processes because we're worried about getting it done today. If you'd like to talk to me, you can find me through my grooming and training business, happycrittersdogtraining.com, my email, chrissy@happycritters.net, and through the Creating Great Grooming Dogs Facebook page. And we have these awesome devices in our pockets that allow us to do live video with each other. I can help you with the dog on your table. We can set up live lessons, and you may be surprised at how much we can get accomplished together via video.